I used to be an asshole kid, a reckless teenager. I used to think I was immortal and that I wouldn't have to deal with the consequences of my actions. My friends and I used to go to parties all the time, get drunk, smoke, pick up random chicks and bring them home. We skipped school about every day as well. We just hated how belittling all the teachers were. We hated school with a passion. We loved Halloween though. It was the one time of year that everyone knew what it was like to be different, to be freaks like us. Not many trick-or-treaters came to our neighborhood. I think it's because of that old, creepy house a couple blocks away from me, the Adams estate. It's big, dark, rotten, and every so often these muffled sounds reminiscent of screams seems to come from there. Police have been there several times, but they've never found anything. My friends and I constantly joke that there's a serial killer who murders his victims there and hides them in the walls, barely alive, just so people can hear them scream. I'd never admit this to them, but it freaks me out every single time we talk about it. I always get these images popping up in my head, almost like a flashback. There are plenty of houses in the neighborhood. Some small, some big, some are being built while others are being demolished. It's not necessarily a bad neighborhood, but you wouldn't want your kids running around, especially not alone or at night. I met my friends at a Halloween party at the cemetery. I wasn't invited, but I always felt like a ghost, so the cemetery was the only place I felt at home. I was probably around 15 years old, and they were about 16 or 17. They came over to me and asked if I wanted to join them. I said sure. I was offered beer, and we had a great time. This became an annual event for us. Every Halloween, we went to the same cemetery and hosted the same party for the same 4 people. One Halloween, though, we decided to bring the party elsewhere. One of my friends, Max, got his license and drove us around the neighborhood. There were jack-o'-lanterns everywhere, and honestly, they made us all feel a little creeped out. I hate those fucking things, Max said, pointing to the line of houses with atrocious jack-o'-lanterns. How do they fuck up the faces that badly? Yeah, me too, said Charlotte, who sat next to me in the car. Me 3, I said, trying to lift the spirit a bit. We should smash them all, Max said with an ominous grin on his face. And you can do it. He pointed at me. Me? Why can't you do it? I said, feeling singled out. I'm driving the car, dumbass. Fair enough. Nexus, the guy sitting in the passenger seat, handed me a baseball bat. As I stepped outside the car, I looked back and blurted out, Wait, why don't Nexus do it? He already had the bat. Nexus gave out a quick grunt. Just do it, Max said, slightly annoyed. I went outside and walked towards the first pumpkin. I smashed it. I went over to the next pumpkin and smashed that one too. The squish and thuds were resonating through the empty street, breaking the deafening silence. I smashed 2 more pumpkins, and then I stood right in front of it. The Adams estate. I felt every single hair in my body stand up. The wind howled as it passed by my ears. I was frozen in fear. What's up? It's just the Adams estate. You scared? Max said. I tried speaking, but nothing came out of my mouth. Look, I know we joke about the Pumpkinhead killer living here, but it's just an abandoned house. Creepy, yes, but vacant, Charlotte chimed in, trying to ease the tension. I know it's all bullshit, but something isn't right. I've been here before, I blurted out. When I was 14, I went inside the house. I remember I heard a noise, and I booked it out of there. It terrified me. I've been in there as well, Max said, with terror in his eyes. Seeing Max like that put me on edge. Nexus and I went together, the year we both turned 11. Only we went down to the basement. Shit was fucked, but nothing scary happened. He was putting on a big boy act to try and maintain his tough guy reputation. What about you? Max said, turning to Charlotte. Yeah, none of you understand, I interrupted Charlotte. You think that just because we've all been in there makes everything easier. Well, guess what? It fucking doesn't. None of you understand the pain I feel when I think about this fucking house. How much it pains me mentally and physically. Something is going on here. I can feel it. Silence. Not a word is spoken by anyone. The only noise is the buzzing from the street lights. We'll prove it, Max said. We'll prove to you that nothing is in this house. No killer, no bodies, nothing. With or without you guys, I'm going in. Me too, Charlotte replied. Nexus was in. I stood there in silence, feeling their gaze burn into my skin. No. A simple no was all I managed to get out. We'll prove nothing is here. We'll be right back. The others stepped inside, closing the door behind them. I sat down on the bottom steps, listening to the street light on the other side of the road, watching the illuminated pumpkin candy basket right underneath. I found myself staring at it, admiring it. I couldn't take my eyes off of it. Suddenly, the door bursts open and my friends are all equally shocked. They're all pale, like their souls just left their bodies. Are you okay? What's going on? I said frantically. I got no reply. Max reached out his hand slowly, holding his phone up to my face. I noticed a tattoo of stitches on his wrist that I hadn't seen before. I looked at the phone and I felt every fiber of my being crumble. It was a picture of me. Breaking news. The serial killer Dean Adams, commonly known as the Pumpkinhead Killer, was arrested tonight at 11:57 p.m. on the charges of kidnapping, manslaughter, and mutilation. The bodies and remains of 15 kids aged 11 to 14 were found hidden inside the basement walls. Only 4 of these bodies were successfully identified. The bodies were identified as Max Gacy, Nexus Vortex, Charlotte Marie Webb, and Mick Voorhees. The victims were found mutilated, eyes gouged out, throat slit, and hands torn off. The 4th victim, Mick Voorhees, was found with his mouth slit open and his guts replaced with pumpkin seeds. May the victims rest in peace, and from all of us at Channel B, be careful. This has been the news. Good night.